Right. I'm going to start at the beginning. And if you know the stuff that I'm telling you about, just that's fine. But I think it's important. Sometimes the beginning stuff is important because it's the foundation for everything else. So to get a good grasp of where all of this is coming from is important. Um, okay, so the topic tonight is on symbols and also active imagination, but we'll come to that later on symbols. Now, before I can talk to you about symbols, I've got to talk to you about the psyche. Okay, what is the psyche? Do you know Carl Jung, after his lifetimes of work, he could tell you all about the psyche, but he couldn't tell you what it was. What is the psyche? He didn't know, hadn't a clue. Now, the psyche has characteristics, just like water is wet. Do you know, it's a characteristic of water that it be wet. Okay, the psyche also has characteristics, and one of those characteristics is aliveness. It's energy. It has energy, and that energy is the energy of aliveness. Now, we, hopefully, are alive, but it's the aliveness in us that brings us to being alive. Yeah, there's a difference. The aliveness is like the electricity, and you can use electricity for a light, or you could use it to boil the kettle or to heat a room. You can use it in many different ways. So aliveness is not just my aliveness, it's our aliveness. It's the same aliveness in you that's in me, that's in the tree, that's in the dog, that's in the cat. Electricity is everywhere. Well, aliveness is everywhere as well. Aliveness is in nature. Do you see? And I am part of nature. Okay. So the psyche, by virtue of it being aliveness, is common to everybody. It's like we're all breathing with the same set of lungs. Do you see? We all have the same heart. We're using the same energy. Now, in me, aliveness in me is manifesting differently than aliveness in you. Aliveness in you may be as a woman, aliveness in me is as a man. So there are differences, but the aliveness is the same. See, now, symbols, a word, a sign. You're driving down the road and you see a sign. I used to always smile to myself when I saw a sign on the road in Denmark, fart. Yeah, it means a very different thing over here than it means in Denmark. Okay, so the word has a meaning. Do you see the word is carrying this meaning? You know what it is. What is it? Slow down or stop or what does the road sign fart mean? Fast, is it? Or in Danish, what does it mean? Oh, of course, your microphones are turned off. Okay, so it has a different meaning in English. Yeah, yeah.
Speed.
And
Speed.
speed. Yeah, okay. So in Danish, the symbol means speed. In Ireland, it's different. You get what I'm saying. Okay, so symbols can represent different things to different people. even though they're all coming from aliveness. So my take on a symbol is going to be different than your take on a symbol. Okay, now Jung talks in his writings, he talks about the 2 million-year-old man. Okay, the psyche. He talks about it being the 2 million-year-old man. So the psyche has been around for as long as our species has been around. See, the psyche as the human psyche, let me say, the human psyche is as old as humans. So it goes with the species. So the earliest beginnings of humanity is part of the experience of the psyche. Do you see? It it didn't die. And it's also taking in our current experiences. Now let me how can I describe that? Okay. In certain types of forest, you have situations where the forest is made up of one tree. You could look at a forest and you could say there's thousands of trees in that forest. Well, with certain types of forest, it's one tree and the plant is underground. The rhizome, the root, is common to all of the 2,000 stick-ups. Do you see? And somebody looking and say, oh, look, there's 2,000 trees. No, it's actually one tree. It's one plant coming from the one root system, producing all these different, the appearance of 2,000 trees. Do you understand rhizome? It's called a rhizome. Now, Jung uses this word. The root, the underneath the soil bit, the rhizome. Okay. In the same way, the psyche is underneath the ground. Like if I cut your head open, I'm not going to find a psyche anywhere inside of you. Do you see? I'll find lots of other things, but I won't find something that I can call psyche. Okay, so aliveness comes from a different realm. The psyche lives within a different realm, just like the root of the tree is in a different realm. Yeah, guys, do you understand do you understand the English?
Mhm.
Does it make sense? Okay, so when we're looking for this psyche, we can only really identify it through its characteristics because it has no appearance within itself. It appears as you and it appears as me. But sure, we're different. Do you know what I mean? Sure, I'm older than you are. I'm a man, you're a woman. We're all different. So how can it be the same psyche? Well, it is. Do you see that tree is taller than this tree, is taller than the other tree, and there's a tree falling over, and there's a tree just starting to grow. It's all coming out of the same root, all has the same beginnings, aliveness. Okay, so that aliveness changes form, just like you have water deep underground, and then suddenly somehow it works its way up through the different layers of rock and sediment, and suddenly it comes out halfway up the mountain as a spring. And then you see it flowing through the city as a big river. It's changed form so many times. You can never see the same river twice. No matter how many times you look at a river, it's a different river. Do you see? You could stand on a bridge, look down at the water, and you could say, I see the river. And then when you look down in the next 5 seconds, it's a different river. The water that you looked at is gone. Now it's new water. And there's this constant renewal. See, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. The psyche is like that. It's constantly refreshing itself with aliveness. Now, I want things, my ego, my sanity, demands that things make sense. I want to be able to name things. I want to be able to say, well, that's a table and that's a chair and there's the ceiling and there's the floor. I need these things. I need these labels. It's complicated for me if I say, well, that's a different table than it was a minute ago. That would make it very complicated. I want things to have a continuance. So I see myself as being the same Stuart, the same person as I was 5 minutes ago. Do you see what I mean? You get a name. You were named how many years ago? And you've called yourself by that name all these years. And you relate to that name. And yet you're a completely different person. Do you see how ridiculous it is? The ego wants these things to be easy. But the truth of it is, it ain't easy. It's complicated. So the psyche, one of the characteristics of the psyche is that we see it through its dynamics. We can see the river flowing this way or flowing that way. So in the same way, we can see the psyche flowing this way and that way through its power dynamics. So some symbols are really charged and some symbols are very weak. If you go for a walk around an art gallery, yeah, what's the name of the art gallery in Copenhagen?
Luciana.
Rugiana. Yeah, so okay, so you go into the Rugiana and some paintings are going to grab you and some paintings won't. Why not? What's the difference between the ones that really grab you and the ones that don't? You see a crowd of people around one painting and there's nobody standing in front of the other painting, and yet maybe that's the one that grabs you. Do you see? So symbols are very personal. So they're just like relationships. We form a relationship with the symbol. We form a relationship with a person. Some people are going to be your friends and others aren't. I like you, I don't like you. Just see personal choice for friendship. But with symbols, because the symbol is containing aliveness, because the symbol is belonging to the psyche, it attaches to us deeper. It the way we relate to symbols is through our unconscious. It won't always make sense. To see, I won't always know why, because the reason something has grabbed me is within my unconsciousness. There's a reason for it, but I may not know what it is. Now, what I would call that is that I have a parallel process going on in me with that thing. There's something happening that's similar. There's a hook and there's a ring, and they do that. Do you see, like Velcro? Okay. So something in my psyche is attracted to something within that symbol. And I could walk past 10 paintings and they wouldn't do anything for me. And then I come to the 11th one and I go, oh my God, look at that. Do you see? because there's something about it. The way the paint is, the way the art, the light in the painting, or just something about it hooks onto me. I have a parallel process in me towards that symbol. Now, a symbol could be the entire painting, or it could be, the rock in the corner. The entire journey from the city center out to the airport, you could see that as a symbol. Oh, I'm going to the airport. It's symbolic of the beginning of a journey, the beginning of my holidays. You see, happy times. The symbol releases energy and I get happy. Or um, somebody else might say, oh, I'm going to the airport. I hope it's not going to rain. I'm going on holiday. It's going to be raining. It's always raining when I go on holiday. So the symbol in their case is stimulating a different memory. The parallel process, the hook joins it with a different meaning. One is a happy experience, the other is, oh, disgruntled,
Can I
unhappy
answer?
experience. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I need to go back when you talked about the roots and the trees,
Yes.
and the tiger was the root, one, and it
The
makes
rhizome, yeah.
go out and make all the other trees.
Yeah.
So the root net is the same. Is this the same when you talk about a human being? We born with one tree and we make this root
Exactly. Yes.
with, okay.
Okay. Now that the root in that case is called the collective psyche,
Okay.
the collective unconscious, because it's shared by everybody. Now, I also have my own personal consciousness. So the deeper down you go into the ground, the more common things are going to get. The deeper I go inside, the more we become one thing. It's on the outside that we're all different, but on the inside, we're all this one thing. We are the psyche, we are aliveness without form. Now, as that energy comes into this realm, it takes on form. See, as the rhizome produces the shoot, and the shoot comes up through the earth, and it breaks out through the soil, now you can say that's a tree. See, there's the sapling, there's a tree growing. Yeah, does that make sense? And
Yeah. So when you're born, a baby is born, you grow up with, when you come to the earth, you have this one root and you evolve and you get other roots and expand. It's like,
okay, so let's go back earlier than that. When a baby is conceived,
mm,
when the sperm meets the egg and conception happens,
yeah.
that moment in time has aliveness in it.
Because you have two.
Yeah.
indi-
In the case of a baby, it needs these two things, but it also needs aliveness to be viable, to be able to evolve. If there's no aliveness, well, then it'll just go through the process of being discharged. So the aliveness is what takes shape. The aliveness on the inside is what grows, and the shell on the outside just adapts. It's the container. My body is the container. Now,
Okay.
that's simplifying it. My body is more than that. My body is also alive. So it's not just like an eggshell. It's more than that. Okay. So, but this journey is a journey of aliveness. And and the aliveness in me through my body experiences life in many different ways. In the very beginning, before I have an ego, I'm just being born. There's no ego, there's no identity present. There's still experience of life. Before I come out through the birth canal, I'm in vitro. The contractions begin to happen, the perinatal stages. I'm still experiencing, even though I'm not here yet. The aliveness that is me is having these experiences, and those experiences are forming a pattern within the psyche. So a good pregnancy, a bad pregnancy, a difficult birth, an easy birth. These are all experiences that create a pattern. And then, I'm born, and 3 months later, I begin to develop an ego, another development. And as soon as I start to develop an ego, I'm developing my identity. Yeah, my identity. I now answer to my name. I know who I am. I'm starting to know who I am in this world. So personal consciousness, the experiences that I'm having that are not common to anyone else. They're my experiences. And yet equally, people all around me are having their experiences, which are shared within the common psyche. Do you see? All the electricity is gathered together in the power station, and yet in each house, it's separate. Each house has its own electricity, and yet in the power station, it's all one big thing. Okay, so Jung talks about this, and Jung says we have we have a collective psyche and we have a personal psyche. We have a collective consciousness and we have personal consciousness, and they both coexist. One is within the other. They both interact together like two strands of DNA, like two tracks on the railroad. They run parallel and they're connected all the time by this series of sleepers on the railway, holding them in place. So I have a personal experience. I see a painting up on the gallery, and as I take it in to see whether I like it or not, just by me bringing it in through my eyes and me reflecting it into my psyche, the psyche responds with 1,000 voices saying, "This is a fantastic painting." Do you see this? The collective psyche in me responds, saying, "This is a fantastic painting. Look at this." You know, whatever is the work, Sistine Chapel. Look at this. Oh my God, isn't that amazing? And I'm another voice. Now there's 1,001 voices saying it's amazing. Now, yeah, yeah.
Uh, I was wondering why it was collective consciousness when you are the one who liked the picture.
What would the tree be if it had no root?
Did,
Yeah,
but
it'd fall over.
but isn't your own personal consciousness that like the picture?
It does. I could say I like that picture.
Yeah.
And what happens is my personal preference connects me with like liking the picture, the feeling of liking the picture. I'll go a little bit further and you'll see where I'm going with this. Okay.
Okay.
So Jung says we have the collective psyche, we have the personal psyche. And one is like sitting on top of the other. One holds the other. The collective holds the individual. Just like a family holds you, you're part of the family. Just see, you have your own little collective. Now, within our mind, within the psyche, the way the personal psyche is organized is with complexes. And the way the collective psyche is organized is with archetypes. Now, a complex and an archetype, you could say, are very, very similar. Just the archetype is way bigger than the complex. So I have my fuse board in the house where the electricity is. Well, there's an equivalent fuse board in the power station, except it's way bigger. Okay, so in a complex, what is a complex? A complex is a pile of experiences. A complex is, say, my mother complex or my father complex. How does it form? Well, I'm meeting my mother today. I'm also going to meet her later on this evening. I'm going to meet her tomorrow morning. All of these times I'm meeting with her, I'm having an experience. How is mother? Is mother happy? Is mother sad? And it registers in my mind as an image. It's like taking a photograph. Every time I see mother, I take a photograph of her. And before long, I've got a pile of photographs. I've got a pile of these experiences. And then I begin to form a sort of, what would you call it? A condensed image of what mother is. I have 100 experiences of mother. I start to put them all together and the complex begins to form out of feeling tone. So if mother is always unhappy, well, then my personal mother complex is going to be negatively toned. If mother is always happy, I'll probably develop a positively toned mother complex. Do you see? So each within the psyche is made up of these opposites. Wholeness is made up of opposites, hot and cold, happy and sad. You can't talk about one thing without really recognizing its opposite. To know one thing, you got to know its opposite. If I said to you, what is hot? How can you describe hot?
It's
Anybody
not,
want to give it a go? Nina.
it's not cold.
It's not cold, exactly. So straight away, you're without even realizing it, you're comparing it with its opposite. Are you tall? I think about, well, am I short? Do you see opposite? So within our adaptation as we grow up, my ego wants it wants the easy route. It wants to survive. It wants to be happy. It wants to have good experiences. So anything bad or negative, I put it into the shadow, my opposite. And anything positive that's going to give me a good sense of myself or that is with me, I'll keep in my ego. So there's this relationship between the ego and its opposite, the shadow. And equally, there's a relationship within each of the complexes within my ego of good and bad, opposites. I have a mother complex. I have a father complex. I have parental complexes. My ego is a complex. I have a self complex. Do you see the way I relate with things is through complexes? Where I park my bike, that I start to develop a complex around where I park my bike. That's my parking space. I always park my bike against that tree. I have an image in my mind that that tree belongs to my bike. Do you see it? Somehow I begin to relate with it through this identification. Do you see? And that's how the mind works. We identify things locally through our complexes. Now, within each complex, there's also a collective connection. So a thread going down into the collective consciousness. And just as I said, the ego has complexes, personal consciousness made up of complexes. Collective consciousness is made up of these way bigger complexes called archetypes. So the experience of a million people, the experience of how many people have ever been alive on this planet. You know, when I see the sun rising in the east every morning, how many other people have seen the sun rising in the east? That experience is in the collective. And when you see the sun setting, that experience is in the collective. And when I hear about somebody being born, oh, such and such had a baby boy or baby girl, that news is not just personal news, it's also collective news. And when I hear that somebody has died, do you see how many people have ever died? So the way I understand these things is through my own personal experience and also through the collective experience, because one is directly in communication with the other. So when a child, if a child has an accident and dies, a child gets run over by a car and dies, it's tremendously sad. If the same person was 80 years old, it wouldn't be as sad. Why is that? What makes it so dreadful when a child loses their life?
Because the child have not lived its life yet.
That's right. That's right. And that energy is being felt within the collective psyche. And when you hear the news or when you read the paper or wherever you get that news from, you're viewing it through your eyes, and also the collective is also responding in you. Do you understand the connection between this personal psyche complexes and the collective psyche archetypes? It's like the relationship between the power station and your house. I'm going to confuse you now in a second, okay? And I'm sort of jumping ahead a little bit when I say this. There's another, after Jung was dead and buried, um, Jung developed what was called, oh God, the word, Janie Mac, it's gone for me. Analytic psychology. Analytic psychology. Okay. What comes after analytic psychology, the most modern breaking of the wave, is transpersonal psychology. Okay, so one of the main people involved in transpersonal psychology is a guy called Stanislav Grof. And each of these people leave theory, they develop a theory, and that's what makes them popular. So Stan Grof, one of his theories is that he says the psyche is made up of what he calls as coex systems, systems of condensed experience. So he doesn't call them complexes and he doesn't call them archetypes. He calls these things systems of condensed experience, just like a line of dominoes. If you push one, they all begin to fall over. So you open a symbol, you step into the moment, you open your eyes and you see something. You see a face smiling back at you. And that for you is a happy experience. This face smiling back at you across the table, that's a happy experience. So to understand that experience, you open the drawer in your mind called happy. And the way that you understand that experience is through all of the happy experiences that you've ever had. One domino touches another domino, touches another domino. One happy experience relates to another happy experience, relates to another happy experience, all the way back to the very beginning. If you open your eyes and it's an unhappy experience, the same thing happens, except you open a different drawer and you tip a different domino. And each unhappy experience relates you back to another unhappy experience and another unhappy experience and so on. And this is how people can have flashbacks and all that sort of stuff. And this is the psyche communicating with you. Now, the way it does all that is through images. What happens in the mind? How does the mind work? The mind is a library of images. The way you understand something is through an image of it. It could be a feeling image, could be a visual image, but it's this sort of instant connection. It's that sort of where the spark hits, leaves an image, an imprint. Do you understand? Spirit touches the ground, it leaves an imprint. You have an experience, your consciousness absorbs the experience, and that experience leaves an imprint. You stick your finger in bread dough, what do you get? A hole. You know, you're making a cake and you stick your finger into the center of the cake. What are you left with? A hole. Leaves an imprint. So consciousness is sensitive to these images, these imprints. So our mind, consciousness, is full of imprints. Guys, you understand? Is what I'm saying making any sense? It is. Okay, we had heads nodding. Okay. So just like we have complexes, complexes are full of images. If I asked you a question, what happened? I want you all to tell me a happy experience that happened when you were a child. I want you to remember a happy experience that happened when you were a child. Where do you go to in your mind? What do you see? You go back to the image. Some people would go back to a feeling. They wouldn't get the image. They'd get the feeling of it. Some people might go back to a smell. Do you see, some people are very visual. Some people are very kinesthetic. All of these sensitivities are within us, and they all connect back to that imprint. Now, you could say that every experience leaves its mark as a symbol within our psyche. So symbols are images, trapped images. They contain energy. Like if I said to you, okay, I want you to remember a time when you were laughing your head off so hard that you couldn't stop. Do you see the way you laugh? Do you see the way that happens? It's like the person remembers that moment so strongly, it begins to come out. That's affect. The energy of the symbol, the energy of the memory, the energy of the image is it's coming out. It's called affect. There's the affect, unconscious energy appearing. When you stop laughing, where has it gone to? Where does the image go? It's put back into the library. It's put back to bed. How does that happen? How do you constellate that image? Why did you go back and pull that particular memory out? Why not a different memory? Because the question I asked linked with a parallel process within your psyche, within your mind. If I asked a different question, you would have connected with a different memory. You would have a different symbol. If I said to you, I want you to remember a big experience that happened at school, a big experience that happened at school, where'd you go to? Is it a teacher? Is it a friend? Is it on your own? What do you remember? See the way it begins to constellate in your mind. You begin to imagine it. You begin to remember it. You're painting a picture in your mind. You're constellating the symbol, the image. There's energy in it. Maybe it was a happy experience, maybe it was a sad experience. I want you to remember when you fell off a bike. See, these are all big experiences. They're easy to remember. I want you to remember a time when you nearly died. Oh, a time when you got a fright and you thought, I'm a goner. Was it in traffic? Was it in the water? Was it, falling down the stairs? An attack? Do you see? They all constellate a different energy. Now, where's that energy coming from? It's not coming from this moment. That energy is coming from the image, from the symbol. It's the energy is contained within the symbol. The memory is a symbol. Well, if somebody comes in and they say, "Listen, I want to work on an abuse issue. I was abused," and when they sit down in the chair and they begin to tell their story, they go back into the memory of what happened and they start to cry, or they may get angry, or they might get frightened. They start to become overwhelmed. What's happening? There's too much energy being released from the symbol. There's too much energy contained within that memory. Do you understand? And as it all rushes forward into this moment, it's too much for the person. Guys, ask me questions. I'm saying a lot there on that now. What am I saying to you? How does your memory work? You're gonna hear stuff like this over and over and over again. So your understanding is going to develop piece by piece by piece. You're not going to step into a complete understanding the first time you hear it. You're going to develop your understanding over time. Do you see? So just work it through. What am I talking about? I'm talking about memory. When you remember, what are you remembering? You're remembering an image. Energy is in the image. If you have a reaction to your memory, if the memory is a difficult memory, say one of abuse, and you have a big reaction, what you're reacting to is not now. What you're reacting to is that energy appearing now. The room might be completely safe, and yet you could be terrified. Okay, because the energy you're working with is the energy of fear. of trauma, of pain. So your memory on the inside is containing that energy. Now, you're walking down the street and somebody has put up an ad on a big billboard of a war scene, you know, talking about Ukraine and all of that. So suddenly somebody has decided to put up a big ad on the wall of a war scene, and you see a soldier dead, blown asunder. And people are standing around looking at it going, oh, that's terrible. I don't agree with that. That shouldn't be allowed. What are they reacting to?
A feeling.
Yes. Where does the feeling come from? How is the feeling constellated?
Somewhere, something they have experienced earlier in the life.
More than likely, yes. And where is it contained inside of them? As a
It's,
memory?
yeah, memory, the
So
psych.
so it has a cognitive part.
Yeah,
It
I
also
think
has a physical part.
yeah, physical. You
It
can
also has an
sometimes feel the pain.
Yeah, it also has an emotional part.
Yeah,
Do you see the big symbols, the strong symbols affect us in different ways. An image that is not heavily charged won't really affect us that much. We see a bus driving past us and we recognize it. There's a bus just driving past me. It's no big deal. It's just a bus. You see, it's no big deal.
I think I see it the way I see it. It's like I have this box of memories of experiments kept inside of me, and when something happened right now, if I fall or if I'm getting sad or happy, I have this what you call it, this impulse down to this box who's picking up something that I have experienced emotionally or physically or something like that, and it's take me. No, it's not taking me back, but I pick that up and it come to me when I look, or if I was falling, or what else I have done. And I think I see it that way, and I don't know if it's the right way or
Yeah.
if I, is it?
See
Okay.
that you what you're speaking about is your position. You have a position, and that's the way you see it.
Yeah.
And the energy that you're feeling, maybe the energy that affects you most strongly is a cognitive energy, or maybe it's an emotional energy, or maybe it's a physical energy. You will be affected in different ways. Like some people see something and they want to throw up,
Yeah.
and other people will see something and it'll make them cry. Do you see, people will respond differently depending on their position. But what we are always responding to is a symbol. So life is symbolic. Each moment in life is an image that we take in. We take in the image through our eyes, through our skin, through our nose, through our ears, through our five senses, through our six senses. We're taking in information. And that sensory information is a symbol. It forms a symbol in our mind. We imagine it. We give it a shape. We give it a form. We give it a meaning. We give it a value. We create our own symbols. Do you see how it works? And some symbols are very pleasant. What happened when you were at your birthday party? Oh, I had great fun. Well, there's a happy symbol, a happy memory, and unhappy experiences. And then we have a position relative to those symbols where I'll talk about some things and I don't want to talk about other things because there's too much affect. There's too much energy in them. And if I talk about that, I'll cry. If I talk about that, I'll want to throw up in the corner, or I'll get so angry. Do you see the energy that's coming out of the memory, that's coming out of the symbol? The symbol is the container of energy. Now, what other types of symbols are there? Well, there are symbols that are personal, just discussed that, and there are symbols that are collective. So if I said to you the name Jesus Christ, or if I said to you the name Buddha or Mohammed, do you see, or Yahweh, the word is a symbol and it connects you with, and it connects you with a personal interpretation of what the word is pointing towards. If I showed you a picture of a sunrise or a sunset, if I showed you a picture of a cross or a graveyard or a newborn baby or a puppy or the atomic bomb blowing up, mushroom clouds, do you see, all of these are symbols and we relate to the energy in the symbol. Now, if there was no energy in the symbol, it would just be a picture. That's just a picture. There's just a bus. There's just a car. There's just a moment. It's no big deal. And then suddenly something happens. Do you see, I remember working with a woman and I was paired with her during a workshop. And in the workshop, she got stuck in an abusive memory and she froze and she couldn't move. And people had to come over and help her to move from her position. But this particular woman had gone through her entire life not remembering that anything had ever happened to her that was bad. And then one day, she was a teacher at school. And one day, somebody closed the curtains in the room she was in. And the sound of the curtains closing, she suddenly had a flashback and she had panic. She had a panic attack in the flashback. She couldn't remember what happened, but her at a feeling level, she started to have panic. There was no visual connection with what it was. And then over a period of time, she began to have a visual of what the panic was connecting with and the closing of the curtains and what that connected her to in her past. Now, she was married, she was in a relationship, she was completely oblivious to the fact that she had been the victim of abuse. It was buried. The memory of it was completely buried. And what brought it to the surface was the closing of the curtains. The sound, a particular sound, opened up the memory, opened up that symbol, and the energy poured out. And there began her healing journey, working with that. Do you see? Now, that could come from the inside or could be triggered from the outside. Do you see? But the meaning of it, the how can I say this? Let's see. The interpretation is found between subject and object. The meaning of things is found between subject and object. You need two things to create this value. I need a subject, myself, and I need an object, something that has a symbolic meaning. Do you see something that has a symbolic meaning? There's a masterpiece up on the wall, a painting. It has no meaning until I look at it. As soon as I look at it, the meaning is created between me and it. To see a parallel process, my psyche opens up in relation to the symbol that it represents. It comes from me, basically. You are creating your own experience. It comes from inside of you. Everything is symbolic. Everything you experience is an image that you take in through your eyes, that you project in through the back of your head into consciousness, and that depending on your personal associations and your personal position, you then decide, it is decided for you, whether it's positive or negative, good or bad, and what you're going to have to do to deal with that. Yep.
I
And
think I think I can. I just experienced an old trauma like she did. I think, if I understand it correct. I've been when I was young, I was a gymnast, and I was really good at that.
yeah,
And I was good at sport and all about that. When I was about 16, I got injured and it was over. And the way it was over at the hospital, they were really, really rough. And it
yeah,
was just, they're not talking to me about it. And here, for a week ago, my own daughter uh, was at what you call it when the at gymnastic, the 1 year. Hvad kalder man en opvisning? No.
Performance eller
Hvad for noget?
performance?
Performance.
performance. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. The display, yeah.
Yeah, she had a performance. And when I got into the hal, hvad kalder man en hal? Stadium, like a stadium.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yes. And I was when in there, I got so emotional. And I was just, okay, this is many years since I have been
Yeah,
there. And I couldn't nearly breathe
yeah, yeah.
because it was this old trauma I felt again when I have to stand there, and I was just, wow, see all the gymnastic and all that. But the feeling in me, I was back to then. Never again. They said to me, the doctor said, you're never gonna do that again. You're never gonna play any sport, anything.
Mm,
And it just went away. And I was just alone in this room when they told me.
yeah.
And they never ever come back to me. So I was good at sport, but I wasn't
How
good in
many
school.
how many years ago
I
is
turned
the
I
gap?
turned 50 in December.
Okay, so you're going back to when you were 16 years old.
Yeah,
So that's what? That's 34 years.
yeah,
Okay. There's a fantastic example of affect. That emotional affect, that energy that caused you to lose your voice when you were speaking it out just now,
yeah.
which caused you to lose your breath when you experienced it in real time with your daughter, that affect has been in your body for 34 years.
Yeah, and I knew
Trapped.
it. I knew it after it. When it happened, I was just, wow. I
Now,
totally
body,
forgot about that.
body as symbol,
Yeah,
body as container. Do you see, you could go further and say, what part of your body where that was that energy trapped in? And you could say, well, I held it in my lower spine, or I held it in my knees,
my
or I held it in my chest,
yeah,
or I held it in my arthritis, or I held it in my deformed thumb. Do you know what I mean? It's an energy that is creative. It's an energy of aliveness. It's an emotional energy. When that energy changes its state and it comes out of the container, we call it affect, but it causes an effect. affect, and effect. It is effective. It does something.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
when we release it, as you did, you could describe the release of it as a catharsis. It was cathartic. I felt it in my body. My body changed. My body shook. I couldn't breathe. Do you know what I mean? It organized me. I didn't organize it. It organized me. That energy coming out affected me. And it's 34 years since it went in. Oh my God. Okay. Now, what we're talking about is something from your own personal experience. Equally, those sort of cathartic effects happen when we see a beautiful sunrise. If we're walking in a forest and we see a bird land on a branch and it's a beautiful bird and the sun is shining, the bird starts to sing. Do you see? It's symbolic, representing a transcendence. It's representing, you turn the corner and you see somebody has jumped a bag of rubbish on the ground. It's a symbol. It has energy in it. We have to deal with that energy. I see the rubbish and I feel disgusted. I see the bird and I feel delighted. Do you see how the energy affects us in different ways? It creates a response. If the energy comes from a trapped memory on the inside, it creates a response. If it comes from something happening in this moment on the outside, it's evoking a response. There's affect and there's effect. As this energy changes state, see, you get steam coming out of a kettle, you get condensation. One creates the other. Where energy moves, you're going to have some type of felt experience. Now, Jung says, just hang on a sec. Hang on a second. Jung says the means of us becoming conscious is through this felt experience. So felt experience is a very direct way of us realizing. And we spend our life avoiding felt experience because felt experience is dangerous. And did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, it's just I was thinking when you say you took the example of the steam out of the kettle,
Yeah.
and I was just, you can have or can you have more than one? Because someday I will think of that image like that's cozy and that's fantastic. But some days I will make other at the same symbol, another emotion at the same symbol.
Yeah.
So you can have multi. If you
Every
understand.
day it's a different thing. Every moment is a different river. Each moment of my life, I'm a different person. Do you know what I mean? Everything is constantly changing. It's constantly in flux. Guys, do you need a break? Do you want to take 5 minutes to go to the loo, get a glass of water, do whatever you need to do? Okay, so we'll say 5 minutes and try and get back within the 5 minutes. Okay, 10 past now. See you quarter past. I was trying to decide was it a cat or a dog. It's a cat.
It's a cat.
Yeah, she's loving it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, any questions? Just while we're waiting for other people to return. Is there anything you want to ask?
I would like to ask a question,
Yeah,
but
of course
first
you
when
can. Yeah.
my girlfriend is back, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So if something happens and you get this image or symbol that makes you sad, is there a way you can change that to a positive symbol?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. But it may take some time. Do you know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
depends on how much energy is in it and what sort of defenses I've built up around it. So, so for example, there's different, like I'm just introducing you to the idea that of symbols. Okay. So what is the psyche? The psyche is made up of consciousness. Consciousness can accept an imprint, a memory. So in our case, we relate to our memories. Okay, so the memory that I relate to is not just two-dimensional. It's three-dimensional because my memory goes back in time. And in order to understand one thing, the way memory works and value works is I compare it with lots of different things. So one thing will pull in 10 other things. And as each thing comes into my mind, energy is released. Because everything that's in my mind has energy behind it. Every moment of my life is an energetic moment. Life is emotional. Do you see? So every moment of my life is emotional, has emotional energy in it. Now, that emotion, I've dealt with lots of it in the moment. But a lot of the time, there's going to be unfinished business. And that trapped emotion gets buried. Time doesn't stop, time moves on. You know, like I fall off my bike, the pain of falling off my bike. My friends have cycled on ahead of me. What do I do with the pain of falling off my bike? I swallow it. I jump back on my bike and I speed off after them. The energy, the fright, the trauma of falling off my bike remains inside of me. I have continued on chasing on after my friends. Do you see? So just through life itself, things get left behind. There's always this unfinished business. And the unfinished business energy is emotional energy. Now, it's locked up inside of us as a happy experience, as a sad experience, as trauma, as fear, as shock, all these different forms of energy. And it can get triggered. So when it gets triggered, the energy that we find ourselves dealing with in the now moment, at the moment of being triggered, that energy is energy that's coming from a memory. It's not now. And it's really important to understand that what I'm experiencing is affect. What I'm experiencing is something that happened maybe years ago. It's not now. The person in front of me is not the perpetrator. You know, my boss may say something to me and it upsets me. But what I'm really getting upset about is something that happened in my family years ago. The affect rushes forwards into this moment and is felt in this moment as anger, as sadness, as whatever, fear. And really, when I look at it, I begin to see, well, actually, I got triggered, and that was the memory that came up for me. Okay, so a way of dealing with this type of triggering energy is to see it clearly, is to understand it, that there is a process happening. You see, the mind is made up of this stuff. What is your mind? A library of moments, a library of experiences. You know, what is the mind? Anyone want to say what the mind is? It's emptiness, full of experiences. It's empty consciousness, full of experiences, full of aliveness. Aliveness in this form, the memory of falling off my bike. Aliveness in that form, the dog bit me. Aliveness in another form, me winning a prize. Aliveness in a different form, me seeing a bird land on a tree. Aliveness in a different form, me getting my first hug or my first kiss. You know, all these different moments of life are stored in the emptiness of my mind as images. Now, if I was to paint them on a page, I'd call them symbols because they're symbolic of that moment in time. They connect me with that moment in time. They're connecting me with a feeling. What I'm drawing is a feeling. The picture of the bird on the tree on the page is a picture of a feeling. It contains the energy of that moment. It's a symbol. There's different types of energy. There's ordinary emotional energy that we carry inside of us, and then there's numinosity. Numinosity is a word created from another word, numinosity, and the original word, or the noun, as it were, would be numen. Numen, Numen. Numen. Numen is another. It's a Greek word for God. So numinosity, the energy that comes from the divine, the energy that comes from God. Numinosity, the energy of God. It's like the shine of the sun. The shine of the sun. The shine of the sun is not the sunlight. It's not the sun. It's the light that comes from the sun. So numinosity is not the God. It's the eminence of the God. It's the energy that comes from the God. Now, in Buddhism, they talk about the grand luminescence of mind. Talk about Dharmakaya, mind itself, the actual mind, consciousness. And they say that one of the qualities of mind itself, Dharmakaya, one of the qualities is it's constantly emitting light. And that light is cognition. So the mind is constantly cognitizing. It's constantly trying to understand. It's constantly working things out. The mind is illuminating itself. Self-awareness, the light of self-awareness, the light of the mind, numinosity. See, so some symbols contain numinosity. If you were a Christian and you were to read the Bible, the way the Bible would affect you being Christian is you would experience the wow effect as numinosity. Oh, this is the word of God. Whereas if you were some other religion, you wouldn't experience it as numinosity. You'd just read it as a book. You see, you might say that's all made up. Do you see, it wasn't written by God at all. It was written by men. Do you see? So your position will alter the way you see things. So today you might feel nothing, and yet tomorrow you might be blown away by something. Same thing. Because you've changed. So symbols are very important, but our position in relation to symbols is equally important. Symbols are very important. Experience, very important. Energy, very important. Aliveness, very important. But our position relative to the aliveness is equally important. Am I in a place of recognizing? Am I walking around in my life with my eyes closed or my eyes open? So this ability, eyes open, eyes closed, there's knowledge. You read a book, you gain knowledge, but it doesn't open your eyes. It just means now you have knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Pick up a book. Yeah, I read a book on how to swim. I fall into a river. Is the book any good to me? No. Do you see? It's not felt. It's not realized. Whereas if I actually go into the river and swim myself, then I don't need to read the book. I have knowing in me. So eyes open, eyes closed. Knowledge is not the end of it. This how can I say it, movement towards knowing, the realizing of the mind. As we begin to realize, our mind changes. Now, in Buddhism, they talk about the ripening of the fruit, or the ripening of the flower begins to open. You see, the fruit becomes sweet. In depth psychology, Jung talks about alchemy and this maturing process that happens within the mind, within the psyche. The psyche matures just as your physical body matures. We're moving towards knowing without realizing it. We're moving towards knowing. Oh, that's a wise old woman. There's a wise old man. To see, there's a maturation of mind within the person, which is not to do with knowledge. You know, the ego loves knowledge. See, the ego will gobble up. I've read 20 books. You know, now I'm an expert. And somebody else say, no, he's just an arrogant git. Do you see, there's no depth within knowledge, but within knowing, there's great depth. Okay, so this is where the light of the mind, you can use words like that, or Jung says, in this life, I don't want to suck, I want to shine. You know, I don't remember the exact quote. There's too many people sucking light. I want to shine. I want to give off light. What was he talking about? Do you suck or do you shine? Which are you? What camp are you in? Are you a sucker or are you a shiner? Do you see it like the evolution of the soul? It's not a mental thing. It's not a cognitive thing. It's in the heart. Okay, so how does all this tie into symbols? Through a general understanding of what life is. If I see life as real and actual and it's happening to me now, that's very two-dimensional. If I see life as symbolic, yeah, it's still real and it's happening to me right now, but also it has different meanings depending on how I look at it. I begin to experience synchronicity. What's synchronicity? When you're thinking about somebody's name and you go around and here it is looking at you on a sign. You know, you're thinking of something, a title of a book or a song, and suddenly you turn on the radio and there it is, playing out at you. Synchronicity. What is it showing you? What is it indicating to you? That you're not alone? Something else going on?
That you're vibrating on that level, or
You're vibrating on that level, yeah. What is that level? What
or
is the vibration?
or that wave, or that wavelength.
Each level of mind, each level of aliveness is alive. Each level of life has aliveness. We think we're it. We think, you know, I'm it. I'm the one that's alive. I'm alive because inside of me is alive. It's not me that is the source. It's the inside of me that is the source. Do you understand? So everything inside of me is alive before I become alive. Everything else has been told the secret first. I'm the last one to get the secret. Do you see? But my ego wants to think it's there. It's the first one. I'm first in line. Whereas in reality, I have to go inside if I really want to find the wisdom. Do you see? Do you see? It sort of turns it all on its head a bit. The difference between Freudian psychology and Jungian psychology. Freudian psychology is developmental psychology. It's very important and it deals with everything that happens in terms of our egoic development. So, what happened when I was 3 months old? What happened to me when I was 6 months old? When I was a year old? Who am I in this world? Freud can really help me with all of that stuff. What am I in this world? I need to read Jung because Freud is not going to tell me what I am. Jung introduces me to my psyche and he starts talking about the different levels of my psyche, just like a doctor will talk about the different organs in your body: heart, lungs, liver, kidneys. Jung talks about the different levels or organs within the psyche. You have an ego, you have a persona, you have a shadow, you have this thing called countergenders, the anima and the animus. You have your own personal consciousness and you have a collective consciousness. And as part of the collective consciousness archetypes, you have opposites operating all the way through, and you have a transcendent, and you have what's down below, base consciousness or unconscious, deep unconsciousness. Do you see? And he introduces us to the relationships of all the parts. Now, developmental psychologist doesn't talk about any of that stuff. What happens when a person dies?
The soul.
What dies?
The
You
the
see, is there a
physical
death at all?
body.
Yeah. If you go in and look at these, writings of people who are in hospice situations, hospice nurses that are sitting with people who are dying every day of the week, and start listening to some of their experiences, and then ask yourself, what is death? You'll have a different understanding of what death is or isn't. Do you see, and you realize there is no death. Whatever is inside of us doesn't die. It somehow continues on. Now, different, your personal experiences, your truth is going to be different than my truth, and so on. But all of that is dealt with in-depth psychology. It's the science of the mind. Okay, to understand depth psychology, you're working with symbols all the time. What's a dream? If I dream I went in, robbed a bank last night, do you know what is that? Did I actually go in and rob the bank? Me, Stuart. Did I do that? Or did something inside of me do it? I was asleep in bed, but my dream ego was in robbing the bank. So my dream ego had the experience of robbing the bank. Do you know, if somebody had measured my heartbeat may have been racing while I was asleep. What is the dream? It's a symbol. I entered into the energy within that symbol. Robbing the bank, symbolic of some unlived aspect within myself. To see, what did I actually rob a bank? No, I entered into a feeling. The feeling happened to be robbing the bank. That was the appearance I chose. If I talk about the dream as the dream of robbing the bank, I'll never go any further. If I talk about the feeling of fear that was created in that dream, I'm now one level deeper towards the truth of what that dream represented. Why did I need to dream a fearful dream? Because my psyche was balancing itself out. I needed to have that experience of fear or excitement in order to balance some energy out within me. Yeah,
Why is that it needs to balance?
yeah. Carl Rogers said the psyche is a self-regulating organism. It self-regulates. When my body needs to get rid of heat, it sweats. You know, when it's all the time self-regulating, one chemical, another chemical. My psyche is also self-regulating. When I go to sleep at night, I have dreams. I experience these symbols, and within the dream is made up of symbols, and each symbol is a feeling. Each dream character represents a different feeling.
But why did I need? Because I just dreamed a dream here for 1 week or something where it was like a really fearful dream.
Yeah,
But why did I like need a fearful dream instead of
because it moves energy.
yeah.
It,
So
it helps you to release trapped energy. It helps you to process unfinished business. It helps you, it brings you to a greater understanding of something. It educates you. There's many things that a dream will do. It warns you of something else, maybe a prophetic dream. Could be a healing dream. It could be a reoccurring dream. There's many reasons why somebody would have a particular dream. But by working with your dreams, you'll begin to see that there's a language within them. There's a communication of one level to another level within the dreams. Like you take one dream, you'd say, okay, well, that's what I think that is. But if you took 10 dreams in the sequence, you could say these are all on the same theme. They're all showing me similar feelings.
okay.
There's certain symbols that will be common to certain people in dreams. Like you know, one man might have a dream of, you know, I don't know, Land
God.
Rover, constantly dreaming of Land Rovers. Well, what does a Land Rover mean to that person? And the person would say, well, when I dream of Land Rovers, I immediately think of the outdoors. And what else could you say about Land Rovers? Well, I think Land Rovers are tough. I think of ruggedness. I think of being bounced around inside a Land Rover and going out through the mud and nature. So I think at the outdoors, I think of toughness. I think of something solid. I think of strength. These are all feelings that I associate with the symbol of Land Rover. And with somebody else, they might say, well, a Land Rover to me, you know, I remember I was run over by a Land Rover. The person driving it was careless, means something totally different. So the dream you have is very personal to you, full of your own personal symbols, and yet within those symbols there will be certain symbols that might be common to everyone. Guys, you know, dreams. Any of you remember your dreams?
Can I ask,
Of course you can, yeah.
why is some dreams you can remember forever? I think
Yeah,
my first dream, I was 4 years old, and it's crystal clear
yeah.
for me.
Why do you think you
So
remember it?
is, pardon?
Why do you think you remember it? What is it about the images that cause you to remember them? I have dreams that I remember from very early in my life as well. Not
It
pleasant.
was a trauma. How can I say it? It was another nice uh, uh, dream.
No, it's going.
I
We can't
have
hear you. It's
two
going slowly.
from back, but
Sorry, Anne, you'll have to say it again. You're frozen.
I know the internet is.
Your internet has slowed down for some reason. We'll have to wait for Anne to come back, to pop back in.
Helene, kan du ikke lige slå din lyd fra, fordi hver gang du bevæger dig eller siger noget, så ryger den væk fra Stuart over på dig.
Who's
Nå, men hvordan gør man? Det kunne jeg ikke finde ud af.
Det er mere fordi, hver gang du bevæger dig eller et eller andet, så ryger den billedet over på dig.
Hvordan gør man, ved I det?
Du burde bare kunne trykke på skærmen, og så er der ligesom sådan en lille
And she'll
mikrofon,
probably
der
come
ligesom
back in.
siger unmute.
Helene, det er nede i venstre hjørne, der står mute eller stop video. Så ned på mute.
Det er fordi, jeg er på telefonen, så der står slet ikke noget. Jeg har prøvet at sidde og trykke forskellige steder, fordi jeg tænkte, hvor fanden skal jeg trykke, hvis jeg vil sige noget? Og så fandt jeg ud af, at den var bare på, men jeg er her.
Tak.
Okay, guys, we'll just continue on. Anne will come back in her own time, so we can go back to what she was saying then. Dreams that happen very early on in your life. I remember dreams from very early on in my life, and there were dreams of being chased. And I remember dreams of being somehow inside something, and I couldn't get out. And it was a reoccurring theme, and I suppose I would have been 4 or 5 years old, or maybe earlier even, I don't know. But the reason those dreams were happening was because of trapped energy. The dream was an expression of some type of feeling that I had. And in order for me to process that feeling, the only way that I could process it was maybe through a dream. Now, years later, there was lots of other ways that stuff processed through me, physically or whatever. But back then, that would have been a reoccurring type of dream. And it wasn't so much of an image, it was a dream of a feeling. So if you look at your dreams, gentleman on the right, if you look at your dreams, the dream you had last week, and look at it from the point of view of what feeling did it constellate? What was the affect? What was coming from the symbol?
I think fear
Yeah.
and anger.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you make a connection within your own mind of where that fear and that anger belongs? Does it make any sense to you?
In my dream, there was in my dream we were walking, me and my family. We were at a funeral at IKEA. I don't know why. And we had our beautiful our funeral clothes on. And then when we walked back from there was some young people coming and stabbing me.
Yeah.
And my family, me, my girlfriend, and my mom and my grandfather, they got killed, but I survived. Even though I got stabbed, and then I got angry, and I have never been, an angry type. And then I, fought back and won, I guess. I just remember being really, really like Hulk, kind of like.
A rule of thumb, okay?
Yeah.
People of the same sex in your dreams represent some sort of shadow aspect. So Jung would say that when working with dreams, if you're a man and you dream about other men, then those men that you're dreaming about, assuming it's not your father or your brother or somebody who has an immediate connection with you, but those men will represent some shadow aspect of yourself. And with women, in a woman's dream, if you dream of other women, those women in your dream will represent some shadow aspect of yourself. So same gender, shadow. Now, if you dream of, say, a man's dream, if he dreams of a woman, then you're dreaming of some aspect of your anima. So it's more relational. It's more to do with relating. And the anima has lots of other characteristics, but it's more to do with that end of things rather than shadow. And in a woman's dream, if you dream of the countergender of a man or group of men usually, or men with dark coats on, or hooded men, or military men, or, groups of men, you're dreaming of the animus. And the animus generally represents itself as a collective. So a woman might have a dream of being chased by men, or in a house, and the house has been broken into by a gang of, lads. And it's the animus. Now, Jung says that what comes to us in a dream usually has a message for us. So if this individual, as you say, was attacking you with a knife, the dream is not real. The dream is outside of this reality. So it's symbolic. So the attacker with the knife is trying to tell you something, trying to show you something. Now, it could be very disguised, it could be very hard to figure out what's that. Do you know? But something that's coming towards you, it wants you to communicate with it. Now, there's different ways of working with that. But one of the most important things first is to realize that what you're working with is a symbol. And the symbol is not the appearance, it's the container of feeling. It's the container of aliveness. So what does this symbol represent? Is it representing danger? Is it representing safety? Is it representing violence? Is it representing disaster? And why is that coming into my dream? Do you see, am I avoiding looking at that? What do I do with my violent tendencies? What am I doing with my shadow? Am I suppressing anger in some area of my life? Is this from the past? Is this from the present? You can try and place it. You see, you work with it. Now, in working with the image, in working with the symbol, you're working with something that's going to evolve. It's not going to stay the same. So if I said to you, well, listen, draw me out that dream. Do a painting of the dream. So you might do it with people, or you might do it with just color. Okay, now what way does this want to change? Do it again, or take what bit of the painting are you sort of drawn to? Okay, start off with that and expand on that. See what that wants to become. And as you work with it all the time, it's evolving. It's showing you more and more of itself. So that's one way of working with it. Jung said that male and female, we're different. Men usually are more logos centric. We use our mind, we're rational, hopefully. Women are more eros centric, more relational, more feeling orientated. They tend not to separate, whereas we separate in our mind. We tear things asunder, where women bring things together. You see, so another way of working with dreams. Are you tearing it asunder or are you bringing it together? You're trying to understand it by tearing it asunder. It's very, I'm not going to go into the dream because I don't know the dream and I don't know you, sir, but it's something that if it's a dream that's upsetting you, you should work with it. But what you're actually working with is not being stabbed. What you're working with is the energy of intrusion. Just say some intruder in you is attacking you for some reason. I'm in conflict with myself at some level. Something in me from the past maybe has me in conflict with myself. So, guys, are you getting a handle on symbols? There's only so much you can say about symbols. Okay. My self-image, such an important thing, my self-image. Is it real or is it a symbol? Your own self-image. What is it based on?
I would say symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because the picture of ourselves is created by the memories we have, I think,
Yeah, exactly.
the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's influenced by all the trapped energy inside of you.
Yeah.
How you've lived, how you haven't lived. And which influences you more, your lived life or your unlived life? What has affected you most? The hug you got or the hug that you didn't get?
The hook that I got.
Yep. Somebody else beside you might say the hug that I didn't get. Do you see, but whatever image we create comes from those experiences. How are you, Anne? You back?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
My
that's okay. Do you
internet
remember where
connection.
you were, or is it gone now?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I remember. You talk about my dream I have when I was about 4 or 5
Okay.
years old, and I was in a big place, and around me there was standing a lot of people. Um, and these people, most of them I knew. And I was standing in the center of the circle, and out of the circle that was black, but the circle was light up by a street light, the tall one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the street light, one who's lighting up the all. And I was standing there, and I was this little girl, and I want to be hugged. And I was sad, and I was crying,
Mm,
and none of them would hug me.
mm.
And they say I was toxic, I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
punishing. And my dad was the only one who said, "Sorry, darling, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't hug you. They say we cannot touch you."
Mm,
And he was leaning forward to me, but he wasn't touching me. And
mm.
my mom was standing next to the group of people, and there was not a feeling on her face.
Yeah.
Um, and I just stand there, and all the people was just looking at me, and there was not
Now,
anger. It was just looking at me, and I was just standing there.
think
And
about this.
yeah,
Think about this. All of that in the mind of a 4-year-old.
yeah.
What is the feeling behind it? So I could ask somebody, what was the feeling tone of your dream? What was what at that moment, how did you feel about that? Okay, overall.
Alone. I was alone. That
Okay.
was
So the dream may be something to do with this feeling of being alone.
yeah.
Okay. Now, look at how the dream itself expands it out into images.
Mm,
Okay. So when we step inside a dream, as we talk about the dream, it's like we're putting ourselves into the dream.
yeah.
I'm now inside the bubble.
Yeah.
I'm not out in the world. I'm now inside the bubble. You see, I've gone into Alice in Wonderland space.
Yeah.
I'm in an imaginal space, the space of the mind where imagination happens. It's very creative. The energy of creation is running the mind.
Yeah.
Its functioning is through my imagination. I imagine my dreams.
Yeah, because I could see my dreams. I could see me standing
Yeah, yeah.
there.
Every dream that you have, past, present, future, is a product of your imagination. Imagination as a function. I'm not degrading. I'm not putting down the importance of a dream.
Oh
I'm
no.
saying every dream you have, every image your mind creates, is the creation using the function of imagination. Now, when I'm out looking at the world, I look in, a window of a shop and I see baked beans and bottles of Coca-Cola and all this. The images that I'm sending into my mind, they're imagined. I've taken the image from outside of me and I've re-imaged it inside of me. The light has gone in through my eyes, into the retina, into the optical nerve. It's transmitted as sensory information back into my brain, and my brain forms an image based on the, the connections made. It reimagines the bottle of Coke and the can of baked beans. I have made it up. I am making up my own reality every single time. Now, the reality may be quite similar to the actual reality, or it could be a million miles away. So if my mind, if my body is full of affect, if my body, mind, if my consciousness is full of affect, fear, a feeling of unsafe, a feeling of violence, anger, whatever, confusion, then I'm going to imagine that into my images. If somebody has been cutting garlic on the breadboard, and then you take out a loaf and you cut a slice off that loaf, that taste of garlic is going to be on the bread. So the trapped energy, the feeling tone of your body, the feeling tone of your mind, the feeling tone of your consciousness is going to appear in your life. People wonder why they have accidents and why things happen, and I keep meeting the wrong people and I never meet the right person, and I get fired from my job and all these things happen. Why? Because there's a relationship with reality and affect. Do you see? It's all symbolic. One thing, another thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. They're all symbolic. We're not living in the world, we're living within feelings. Feelings create thinking. Thinking create images. You see, if you bring it back to feeling. So There you go, dreams. I mean, you're going to cover dreams again and again and again, and you'll keep seeing more within this sort of idea of symbols, because it's not so much symbols. Saying earlier on, it's our position in relation to symbols. How is this symbol affecting me? What's my position? What do I need to heal in myself? Possibly my attitude. What is my attitude? It's my position. My attitude has me sick. Do you see, I create my own sickness. A doctor would say, no, you don't. I suffer, well, I don't suffer. I have what doctors would refer to as a thyroid, a slow thyroid. Sorry, I don't. It's overactive. I have to think about it. It's supposed to be overactive. Okay, so I went in and the doctor said, okay, you got this going on. And I said, right, okay, well, why? I was thinking to myself, why do I need to have this sort of heat in my body, an overactive thyroid? And he was saying, no, 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 it's just a rogue organ. It's a rogue gland. There's no significance in it. And I think to myself, what absolute nonsense. Everything exists within a relationship with everything else. So they do their business and I do mine. So if you have a dream where yes, Anne, go on.
It's just when you're talking about that, is that the same when people talk about manifestations? About you can get better with the thoughts and you know happy thoughts, and you can think,
Make yourself happy.
yeah.
I suppose you can to a certain degree. But you know, if you've ever been in a house where there was a fire, you will know that the smell of smoke is very difficult to get rid of. Okay. So where you have experienced a deep trauma in your life, it's very difficult to get rid of some of the effects of that deep trauma. So approaching it just from the level of affirmations may not be enough. Opening the windows of the room may not be enough to get rid of the smoky smell. You know, you may have to go further than just doing affirmations. Now, one of the things that I would always try and include in my work is I would refer things back to the person's body. And you know, ask the, you know, I might say to a person, I notice you're sitting this way, or I notice you do that with your hand. Do you see? And moving the body is moving the mind. When you change your posture, you're changing your consciousness. When you change your consciousness, you're changing a whole set of images. You're being organized right now by what's inside of you. If you change position, you're changing what's inside of you. Guys, any questions? Come on. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing my own voice. Come on. Ask a few good questions. I'm not going to put you into a breakout room. I want you to do it here. What are we talking? Have a chat amongst each other. Use this as a breakout room. Have a chat amongst each other about what we've talking about tonight. Do it in Danish. So turn your mics off and start chatting.
Okie
What are
dokie.
you taking away? Yeah.
Hvad tager I med jer?
Hey.
Altså, jeg tror, jeg tager med, at forståelsen af, hvad er psyken, at vi er det der med, at vi har den her, for mig havde den der kasse med, at man simpelthen kan, hver gang man oplever, eller man støder ind i et eller andet, som giver en følelse af noget, og om det er fysisk, eller om det er en følelses, at man så hiver faktisk alt frem, som man har oplevet i nogle parallelle verdener til det, man oplever, eller sådan noget.
Ja. Man hiver bare ikke alt frem, men noget. Eller
Ja,
der kommer noget
det
op
som
af-
passer.
ja.
Det, som passer med den her situation, men nu måske, hvis man siger, når jeg har haft et traume i et eller andet, eller jeg er ked af et eller andet, eller når jeg ser en elefant, så får jeg den her følelse, og det gør jeg, fordi at den sporer tilbage til noget andet.
Ja.
Det ved jeg ikke, altså, men det er sådan, jeg har forstået det. Og hvorfor jeg har spurgt lidt om med de der træer der, det var jo fordi, at det var sådan en, okay, altså, er det sådan, er vi et træ, når vi bliver født, eller er det fordi, vi er rødder, eller men da han så ligesom fortalte om, okay, det er allerede fra, da vi bliver født, der kommer der noget fra far og noget fra mor, og så bliver det sådan sat sammen, så allerede der har vi et eller andet. Altså, det er sådan, jeg forstod det.
Sådan forstår jeg det også.
Okay.
Ja.
Ja. Er der nogen, der har et eller andet, som de tænker, det forstod jeg slet ikke, det der?
Er der nogen af jer, der kan fortælle mig lidt om det kollektive og det personlige bevidsthed?
Altså han snakker om det der med, at det var forbundet, ikke? Det personlige og det kollektive.
Ja, det kollektive, det, som jeg forstår det, så er det jo det, du får med, altså fra alle andre. Alle andre ser også det samme, altså alle andre har også en følelse, men vi oplever det forskelligt.
Ja.
Så vi har alle sammen været i den samme, vi har alle sammen set den samme elefant. Men eller det var det der med, at når vi har alle sammen, for eksempel, der bliver født et barn, når alle os på en eller anden måde, om vi har været tanter, eller onkler, eller søstre, eller whatever, så har vi alle sammen stået i den her med, at når man okay, der er et barn, der er født, den glæde, eller et eller andet, man oplever, det er den kollektive glæde. Det var sådan, jeg forstod.
Men
Var det ikke sådan, at det var psyken, vores egen psyke, der udgjorde det kollektive? Altså sådan, så at vi alle sammen oplever det kollektive ens, men det er vores psyke, egen psyke, der udgør det personlige i det?
Jo.
Altså symbolet i det?
Ja.
det havde jeg lidt svært ved at forstå,
Mange
fordi
tak.
at han sagde det der med, at hvis man kigger på et maleri, så er det jo det personlige, siger jeg godt kan lide det, men det er det kollektive, der giver dig følelsen af det. Og det er derfor, jeg misforstod, hvad det sådan 100% betyder. Fordi hvis det er det kollektive, hvis jeg kan lide et maleri, ikke? Og du kan lide et andet, og vi ikke kan lide det samme, så må vi jo også have forskellige kollektive bevidstheder. Et eller andet sted.
Det har vi.
Det har vi ikke.
Jeg tror,
det er ikke det der. Vi har en fælles kollektiv bevidsthed, og så har vi vores egen
Lige præcis.
bevidsthed.
Vi ser
Det
alle
er også
sammen
sådan,
den
jeg har
røde bil.
forstået det først, men jeg synes, han sagde noget andet, og det er derfor, jeg blev helt forvirret.
Jeg tror, det var den der med, at vi ser allerede alle det samme billede, og kigger på den samme sten, der er på billedet, men den personlige oplevelse.
er forskellige.
Det er sådan, jeg også har forstået det.
Men så skal vi spørge ham.
Ja. Er der nogen, der kan forstå det godt?
Jeg vil også godt bare lige anbefale den her, som den der Jungs analytiske, som står på, fordi der står nemlig om den kollektive versus den individuelle, eller hvad man kalder den.
Ja.
Ja,
Men det
og
var
det står
sådan-
på dansk og sådan noget.
Og det er jo også sådan, jeg har forstået det fra den bog. Jeg blev bare forvirret,
Ja.
at du sagde det før.
Ja, det forstår jeg også godt.
Men måske skal vi spørge det, så bare mig, der er misforstået. Jeg ved det ikke.
Nej, men det er jo bare at spørge ham.
Ja.
Men det er bare, jeg ved ikke helt, hvordan jeg skal spørge det.
Guys, does everybody have a piece of paper in front of you? Do you have access to a piece of paper? Yeah.
I can find one.
Just doesn't have to be big, just an ordinary piece of paper will do. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do a very simple exercise. And I just want you to think about it before you do it. Now, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing a face. You know, a circle, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. That's what I'm going to ask you to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just wait people to get back.
We have to draw a face.
No, just bear with me for a sec. Just letting
Okay.
Helen to get back. Okay, so the face I want you to draw. Now, it could just be literally a circle, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Do you know what I mean? Stick man, stick woman. Okay, very basic. But I want you to think about it. What you're going to be drawing is the feeling that organizes you. So this is the face on the feeling that organizes me.
Please tell me some more about that. Organizes you how, in what
Okay.
way?
I have a feeling inside of me, the feeling tone of my body, the feeling tone of my mind, the feeling tone of my psyche, and it organizes me. It sets my energy levels every day. I wake up happy, I wake up sad. Do you see, I am organized from inside of myself. So what I want you to do is, but using your imagination, to draw the face of the feeling that is organizing you. And it could be very basic, but it might, maybe you'll have a little upturn on the mouth, or you might have a downturn on the mouth, or you might have little narrow eyes. Do you see, whatever way you draw it, this is the face on the feeling that organizes me.
Okay, so if you're a person with a lot of mood swings, you do an upside
You
downside
do it
mouth or
whatever way
what?
you want. Do you know what I mean?
It was just a question. If you
Yeah,
wake
yeah.
up angry every morning, you do
The feeling that organizes you. So it might
yeah,
be a very sad face that has you angry. It could be a very angry face.
yeah. Okay.
This is the face that organizes me. It's not you. You're not drawing your face. You're drawing the face inside of you that organizes you. And when you have it drawn, I want you to give it a descriptive name. Like the Indians were named, like, river flowing down a mountain, sunrise over the valley, these sort of names, like a North American Indian type of name. What descriptive name would you put on this face? Person who's been jumped on, whatever description goes with that face as a name. So you're not going to call it John or Mary or Paddy or any of those names. It'll be a descriptive name you'll use. Boy who was shouted at. Girl who was run. Girl who was run over. Whatever way you want to describe it. Just give it a descriptive name. And notice when you're doing it, where you're going to connect with that inside of you. Where is the information that you're taking this face from? Where are you feeling it? Is it coming out of your chest or out of your throat or out of your belly? What part of your body is storing this face, this feeling? you find it easy to connect with? Or is it a difficult thing? Just notice everything. And who wants to show their feeling face that organized them first? Oh, it's hard to see. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we see it. Yeah. Okay. So what do you call that face?
I call it life is wonderful.
Life is wonderful. That's the feeling face that organizes you. That's great. Okay. Don't put it away. Keep it there because there's part 2 on this. Life is wonderful face. Okay, that's super. That's exactly what I want. Okay, next person want to show. Okay, who's going to go next? So, Macon. Okay, and two-face sunshine. Excellent. Yep. Yeah. The mask to, I can't get the last word. The mask two-faced. Yeah. Okay. Helen, do you have one? It doesn't matter if it's not clear. As long as it's clear for yourself. That's the most important thing. What's the name you put? What's the name on it? Yeah, I can't hear. Your mic is turned off. It's okay. It's
Sunny.
okay. You. Oh, yeah. Now you got the mic on. What you call it?
Sunny?
Sunny. Okay.
Sunny. Yeah.
Yep. And Emily, you have one. I have to wait for the camera to focus. Yeah, that's. Yeah. Okay. I'm sort of getting it. Yeah, I see the cheeks and the. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. The camera's.
I think it's because of the background. I
Yeah,
think
that's
if I
right. The
just
camera is blurring it deliberately.
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. What do you call the face?
Chaos goddess.
Chaos Goddess. Okay, good
Yeah.
enough. Excellent. Any more? Do we have iPad, whoever that is, and Nana? Maybe they're there, maybe they're not there. Okay.
I'm there, but I'm sorry, I can't get my camera to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have a diagram and you have your face, yeah?
Yeah.
And remember, this is not you. This is the feeling that organizes you. Okay. And if Nana is there, hopefully you have one as well. Okay. Now, part 2. I want you to draw the exact opposite to that face.
Just a quick question.
And don't censor. Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking if this is the feeling who organizes me, it's just right now.
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
it?
okay.
It's yeah, do you understand
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It will change like
Absolutely, yeah.
with
Yeah.
depending on
It depends on your position.
and what energy we
You
have
could do it
inside
for
us.
right now,
Yeah.
or it could be something that's organized you all your life. Depends
Yeah.
on your position.
Okay.
But now do the exact opposite to that face. Again, you're not drawing your own face. You're drawing the exact opposite to the face that you've drawn a moment ago. So if it was a happy face, you're going to be drawing a sad face maybe, or frightened face, or scary face, or whatever.
Do I just draw my face like the opposite mirror way?
Whatever way you want, you're drawing the exact opposite. So you do it whatever way is right for you. Yeah, again, the camera is not picking it up but you know what it is. You can see it.
It's just a cycle.
Yeah, okay.
with no face on it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the numb face.
Yeah. Yeah. So the exact opposite. You got the face that organized you, and you got the exact opposite to that face. Now, very simply put, I could say, well, what you've drawn are two sides to yourself. Do you see? Which one do you know about and which one do you not know much about? Because one of those faces is going to be less known than the other face. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's a difference. Yeah. Which one of those faces are you more comfortable with? Yeah.
Um, yeah, because the first one was like a split in between,
Yeah.
and the other one is where they are separated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, I can show my first because I didn't before. It's difficult to see.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can
Yeah.
see it?
What words did you use to describe that face?
A happy soul trapped in drainage. Hvad siger man?
Okay.
Drainage.
Yeah, drainage.
Drainage.
Okay, and the opposite to it?
Happy and free.
Happy and free, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So, there's no right and there's no wrong. But you're getting in touch with a part of yourselves that you don't show. You're getting in touch with something in yourself that's hidden. Now, everything has a feeling value. Everything. Everything is storing energy. Everything is symbolic. So, your shadow self, the part that you're not showing, it's still organizing you. Do you see? You don't know about it, but it's organizing you. And the party that you've drawn first, that you connect with, it's just something that's slightly more known in you. I relate with this face more than the other face. So with your one, where you have this split, and then you bring it into the division of the two faces. It's funny, the faces that you don't show actually have more clarity. It's like they're showing more clarity around feeling. The first one is more ambiguous, whereas the second one divides the feeling into this and that more clearly. It's interesting. Do you see? And in looking at your faces that you've drawn, there's information available. In each face that you've drawn, there's an insight available to you. You could take it further in, part 3, part 4 of that. So, guys, any comments on, any comments on anything you've heard or realized? Helen.
What do you mean, part 3 and part 4?
Well, you could take the exercise further. You
Yeah.
could take each one that you've drawn in and you could divide it down and say, right, show me the feeling in this face that I don't want to look at. That would be part 3. Show me the feeling in this face that I don't want to look at.
But that's what we drew, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you could go further. In each of those faces, you could do exactly the same thing. Show me the feeling in this face that I don't want to look at, and show me the feeling in this face that I'm not looking at. And each time you do the exercise, each time you redo the symbol, there's more information being made available to you. Each time you look in the mirror, you see a different face.
But we have 2 drawings
Yep.
only, right?
Yeah, yeah. 2 goes to
So
4, goes to 8, goes to 16.
what, sorry?
2 can go to 4, can go to 8, can go to 16. Do you know what I mean? You could do the exercise 10 times. Show me the feeling within the feeling that I don't want to see. Give me another look at myself. Okay, let's redo the exercise in your imagination. I want you to draw yourself in your imagination and give yourself a name. What is the emotion that you're drawing on your own face in your imagination? What are you showing to the world? What emotion are you showing to the world?
Mm-hmm.
In your imagination. How do you want the world to see you?
Strong
Yeah, exactly.
could be a word.
Yeah, yeah. I am strong. There you go. Okay, what's the opposite to strong? I am vulnerable. It's not
But
weak.
that's so that's that's the drawing we just did.
Maybe that's the drawing you just did.
It
Or
could
maybe
be, but
that's the feeling you don't want to look at.
we only have 2. Sorry if it's taking too long. I mean, I just didn't understand exactly what the. But I'm sure we're getting into that later on, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we have 2 minutes left. Any final comments before we go?
It was very interesting. Thank you very much for a nice
Okay, thank you.
talk. And I'm sorry, it's way past my bedtime. That's why I was getting really
That's
tired.
okay.
And I was up really early. So yeah, but very nice.
Okay, guys. Well, listen, enjoy. If you're doing tomorrow, enjoy tomorrow.